Still looking at me.
What's up, guys? It's Mighty back into another reaction video, and some of you have already figured it out. I do watch WWE as well as NXT on WWE Network, which is, by the way, that how crazy it is that the Black and Gold is going to be coming to USA September 18th. That's going to be nuts. So I am looking forward to that. So hopefully that this will be lit. And of course, I still watch the NXT UK. Now, some of you don't know that there was another show I did watch when it was aired on Spike TV, which is now called Paramount Pictures Channel, which that's a mouthful, but it's called TNA Wrestling. For those, what the initial stands for as in Total Nonstop Action. That was basically being run by Dixie Carter, and of course the legendary Hulk Hogan comes in to basically be as the general manager, in which that now went from TNA to Impact Wrestling, and everything else was basically same crap. So that's the part where I'm a little far behind, but it's just what it is. And believe it or not, I've actually met a few of the pro wrestlers in the past. From JTG, April Hunter, that she was a former pro wrestler, and she's also a fitness model. Not to mention, I met Al Snow a couple times at my old job. And, you know, he's a real nice person in real life, because I actually talked to him a couple of times. And even though that I was pretty nervous, I almost wanted to shit myself. But right now, this is a requested video from Storm Shadow, which is the title 10 Wrestlers You Forgot Wrestle for Impact Wrestling. So apparently there are some names that I wasn't even aware of, other than Jeff Hardy, Eric Bischoff, Ric Flair, Jay Lethal. But who else that makes it on the list? One way to find out, and that's simply, it's time to react.
We all know that a fair few WWE superstars once wrestled for TNA, Impact Wrestling, Global Force Wrestling, whatever you want to call it, during their time. Whether they be legends like Kurt Angle, Sting, Kevin Nash and Booker T, or talent molded by the promotion such as Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode, Xavier Woods, and most famously AJ Styles.
Yep.
But TNA was never all that much of an exclusive club, and as such, many a famous wrestler today has had a televised experience with the company. Some as part of a squash match, or perhaps as part of an underwhelming and forgettable run. And in this list, we'll be looking back at those. I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic.com, and these are 10 wrestlers you forgot wrestled for Impact. But before we get started, I just want to lay down the ground rules, because rules are fun. No entries for wrestlers who only worked dark matches, sorry Dean Ambrose, Sami Zayn and Ty Dillinger, and we won't be including the UK-based reality show British Boot Camp, so no Party Marty. Join us. Number 10, CM Punk. Ring of Honor Game Changer, WWE Game Changer, UFC Game Bringer. CM Punk has long been the man, no not that one, in many a wrestling fan's eyes. And with good reason. But did you know that he was a wrestler for TNA a long time ago? Admittedly, you might have done, which is why he's quite low down on our list. Wrestlers this famous can't just sweep several months of TV appearances under a rug, even when working for the WWE. Punk's stint in TNA came when the company was still NWA TNA, and he wrestled there while still under Ring of Honor contract, making appearances for both companies between 2003 and 2004. The future best in the world was debuted as part of a new stable headlined by Raven, at the time a major player in TNA and regular main eventer. But after breaking from the group as part of a heel turn with then tag partner Julio De Niro and forming an alliance with Father James Mitchell, Punk was told that the team hadn't connected with the audience the right way, and an apparent real-life scuffle with Teddy Hart didn't help things either. Punk would move back to being exclusively on TV for Ring of Honor, and the rest is history. Number 9, Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa is somewhat of a unique case of a WWE wrestler performing for Impact in that he did so after debuting for NXT. That said, it wasn't like Ciampa was kicking the prospect of a WWE deal in the balls or publicly shaming Triple H for ever approaching him, though. It was actually just the reality of the times, wherein Ciampa had wrestled on an Impact TV taping months before his NXT debut, but the episode hadn't aired for Impact yet. Wrestling as part of a three-way X Division match with Zema Ion and new NXT prospect Trevor Lee, Ciampa hardly excelled like he does in NXT these days, but he was decent nonetheless. His one-off appearance making the rounds on dirt sheets at the time, but being remembered by hardly anyone in the years since, making him a forgettable, albeit unique Impact wrestler. Number 8, Seth Rollins. Wrestling as Tyler Black all the way back in 2006 at the age of just 20, the current-day Seth Rollins was used as one half of a jobber team with a guy called Jeff Luxon to put over Homicide and Hernandez of LAX, the Latin American Exchange. His appearance lasted all of around 30 seconds and was concluded by Homicide's cutter, the Gringo Killer, from the top rope. Rollins' stint may have only been for a short time, but for a talent whose development has been so attached to the WWE and Ring of Honor before then, this may come as a surprise for many. 30 seconds of TV time during a one-off squash appearance counts towards this list, right? Number 7, Sanada. Current New Japan Pro Wrestling star and member of the company's famous LIJ stable, Sanada is a wrestler who's undergone quite the transformation in recent years, which is why it's probably hard to remember that he was once a member of the Impact roster and, in fact, a former TNA X Division champion. Wrestling for the brand between 2014 and 2015, Sanada was actually already TNA X Division champion after winning the belt in a match for Japanese promotion Wrestled 1. Sanada, spelled in the normal way as opposed to the all-caps version he uses in New Japan, was given a push right out of the gates, debuting alongside Yazoo and the Great Muta of all people in a six-man cage match at Lockdown 2014 in March. He even retained the belt in a six-way ladder match against Davey Richards, Eddie Edwards, Crazy Steve, Tigra Uno, and Manic that summer before eventually dropping the gold to Austin Aries. It was a time of chaos in TNA and audience numbers were way down, not to mention that Sanada's shine diminished somewhat towards the end. But to know that a now successful New Japan Pro Wrestling talent like Sanada was once wrestling for TNA at a time many had given up on the promotion will be surprising to many. Number 6, Hiroshi Tanahashi. At the time of recording, Hiroshi Tanahashi finds himself on top of the world. Yes, the New Japan megastar is approaching the twilight of his career, but he has firmly regained his perch as one of wrestling's elite. With that in mind, you may be surprised to learn that in 2006, he lost a match because of Shannon Moore. Yes, at Final Resolution 2006, Tanahashi made a special appearance in TNA, taking on none other than AJ Styles. What a dream match. Well, almost. There were several things wrong with the match, the first being that it only just cracked the 10-minute mark. Secondly, Tanahashi lost because Shannon Moore accidentally hit him in the face with AJ's Mr. TNA plaque. Even more embarrassingly for the future great, he was in the midst of his first reign as IWGP Heavyweight Champion at the time. Tanahashi would return to TNA 2 years later, appearing in various multi-man matches against the likes of Team 3D, Jay Lethal, Doug Williams, and the Motor City Machine Guns. As far as we're aware, Shannon Moore didn't try to interfere in any more of his bouts. Number 5, Roderick Strong. The Undisputed Era's Roderick Strong was a well-featured player in Impact between 2005 and 2006, wrestling mostly in the company's famed X Division and even forming a stable with Austin Aries and Alex Shelley, two of the company's all-time greats. Strong actually wrestled in TNA's first ever match on Spike TV in a losing effort to AJ Styles, the fans' choice for the opening match that night, in what would be very early signs of what he would later prove himself to be capable of, making him a great answer to a wrestling quiz, should you ever need it. His time in Impact would come to an end shortly after finishing a suspension with the company for turning up 4 hours late with stablemate Aries at Against All Odds 2006, something Strong's reputation would take a while to overcome, but even with that baggage, the history-making match and reputable stablemates, Strong's run in the company seems almost completely overlooked and almost entirely forgettable. Number 4, Shinsuke Nakamura. He's arguably one of the best wrestlers of this century and a recognizable name both sides of the Pacific Ocean. But many forget that long before his time as a marquee signing to NXT, Shinsuke Nakamura had wrestled for Impact in both the US and Japan. In the US, he wrestled a short match with Elix Skipper that TNA inexplicably put on their B show Explosion, whereas in Japan, the IWGP Heavyweight Champion defeated Kurt Angle to unify two IWGP belts in a much better and longer match that TNA actually aired. It was hardly the most noteworthy of runs, but yes, before the WWE, there was Impact for Nakamura. Though, like a lot of major names on this list, he was hardly used appropriately.
Really
Number 3, Mil Muertes. Rocking a mask is always going to indicate a mysterious past, but delve into that of Lucha Underground mainstay and overall scary presence Mil Muertes, and you'll find that he was once a rather prominent figure in TNA. That's right, way before the days of Impact Wrestling, Hulk Hogan and company, Mil Muertes wrestled for Impact as Judas Messiah, a wrestler who, unsurprisingly given his name, was a bit of a demon-like figure hell-bent on wrecking Abyss's life on behalf of Abyss's old mentor, James Mitchell. He debuted in a cage match between Abyss and Kurt Angle, blood dripping from his mouth, his eyes clouded by those contact lenses that Jeff Hardy uses, Don West shouting, "Oh my god, that's got to be Judas Messiah," as if Vince McMahon frantically introducing Kane during that Hell in a Cell match. It was a storyline ripping off Kane's debut, if that wasn't already clear. His career didn't really go all that far in Impact, but without a mask, he established himself as memorable for the era at least, partnering with Dustin Rhodes' Black Reign, remember him, for a short while during a pretty prosperous period for the company. You'd never know it now from looking at him as the physically intimidating masked wrestler, but he was once a bit of a goof in Impact, though a physically dangerous one, it must be said. Number 2, the Young Bucks. Nick and Matt Jackson are arguably two of the most marketable wrestling stars on the planet right now. Their weekly episodic YouTube show, Being the Elite, draws hundreds of thousands of views every single week, while their part in the growth of New Japan and Ring of Honor can't be downplayed, and let's face it, we're all really bloody excited about All Elite Wrestling. But rewind to 2006 when the pair were only just into their 20s, and the Bucks went by the name of Generation Me in TNA. Presented as an uber babyface tag team akin to the likes of the Rockers from the late 80s, the Bucks were a far cry from what they'd become and often treated as nothing more than flashy cannon fodder for the bigger, more established teams in the company at this time. Now megastars of international wrestling and some of the most handsomely paid talent in all of pro wrestling, the Young Bucks aren't often associated with their time in Impact, but have been shaped by it nonetheless, often citing it as a time that taught them to stick to who they are and do things their way. Now arguably bigger than the company itself, they've gone on to achieve more than most could have foreseen from their brief, uneventful stint between 2009 and 2011. Number 1, Kazuchika Okada. Quite how TNA managed to botch the would-be greatest wrestler on planet Earth is quite incredible, but botch him they did. Admittedly, the Okada of 2010 to 2011 was hardly the Okada of 2015 to 2018, but to have a wrestler of his capabilities in the promotion while they were on the cusp of the mainstream with the transition to Monday nights and the Hogan-Bischoff era seemed like the kind of thing they might want to take advantage of, wouldn't anybody? He ultimately wrestled a bunch of dark matches before making his debut on the company's secondary show Explosion in a losing effort alongside Homicide against the team of Nick and Matt Jackson, then known as Generation Me, but you already knew that. He then adopted a gimmick that made him a somewhat racist stereotype of a character inspired by the Green Hornet's sidekick, Kato. Inevitably, Okada's run was better remembered for the would-be IWGP Heavyweight Champion being a glorified cameraman. Yes, that was the way they genuinely debuted him as a so-called major character. And apparently New Japan was so pissed they ceased their working relationship with Impact at the time. It was proof of a terrible run worth forgetting about, and a surprising connection worthy of our very top spot on this list. So that's our list. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and you can follow me on Twitter here. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe.
Wow. There are a few of the wrestlers I did not know they had their little moments at TNA/Impact. What makes sense? I mean, I just gave up watching that because I've lost track of time of exactly when it comes out. Because I think I remember they only aired on every Thursday nights. So, I hardly ever watch it on pay-per-view. So, yeah, that's a very good memory to just hear some of the names like Young Bucks to Shinsuke And at that time, I did not know he was on Impact at that time. But that's just how that's how the wrestling business works, because it's all about money. It's all about the promotion and the works. So this is where I'm going to end this video. So to Storm Shadow, thank you again with this interesting clip and a lot to a glimpse of to remember of what we all used to love of TNA, then WWE. But I think we're ready for AEW, don't you think? Anyways, if you enjoyed this, let's leave it a likes and also leave a comments out below. I'm ending this video, and I'll catch you all in the next video. So take care, everyone.